Welcome everyone to the Korean StarCraft League Weekly, I think might be the full title, Finals, best of 5, between Dark and herO yet again. If you think this is the same best of 5 as week 10 or week 8 or week whatever, it is not. This is actually for week 16, the freshest of herO versus Dark, but yes, you are not wrong if you're thinking that these guys play a lot against each other. They do. Yes. In the bottom right, it is herO. In the top left, it is Dark, both on DKZ at this point. Not that that means too much nowadays. Just means they're both getting supported financially. I don't know if they were practice partners. Because basically, at some point, the Korean practice setup was just, you know, who were you friends with? Fortunately, these two are very fun players to watch. PvZ is no longer just a snooze fest, always. Sometimes it is, but not always. And then when these two players combat, we get the hyper-aggressive herO occasionally versus the hyper-aggressive Dark occasionally, with the, you know, couple of macro games thrown in. But Dark, definitely the type of Zerg player to actually throw out some cheeses. herO, absolutely the Protoss player to throw out some all-ins. Scusi. Since I don't necessarily think of him as a cheesy Protoss player, if I think of cheese in PvZ, I'm thinking like a Cannon Rush, which no professional really does. And then perhaps like a 2-base charge all in. Like that's just not. That's really bad nowadays too. So yeah, for PvZ, I don't think of cheese so much as I think of all ins. And for Zerg, I usually would not talk about their cheeses too much either. Only when it is Dark do I then think about proxy hatches, hatch blocks, early pools, even some roach all-ins off of like 2 pseudo 3-base, right? Like that's stuff that Dark will do because Dark is a special Zerg. Otherwise, people have, I think, correctly called out Zerg to be a little on the not good cheesy side. Like they have cheese, but it's something that you'd buy from like I don't know, like Walmart. It's like a craft single, and it's like, well, technically it's cheese, and in some situations it's actually excellent. All right, there's nothing like some budae with a slice of craft cheese melting right on top of the delicious hot dog soup. But most of the time it's kind of like, ugh. But Dark makes the craft cheese look delicious. He does the cheese. It actually works. Nidus worms, something that only he can ever make look good. If there's a player that tries and you're like, well, it probably wasn't the best. Someone's hungry? I'm actually not, but I have appreciated the cheese and the bread and the butter a lot while I've been here. I went to the grocery store a couple days ago, and I refilled kind of my staples. So my staple food for being in the apartment for a week has been sandwiches. So good bread, sliced cheese, and like some deli meat. But I went to the grocery store 2 days ago, and I literally just got stocked up on cheeses and like fig spread, you know, and like fancy meats like prosciutto. So I had myself a little charcuterie. And I had lots of fun with it. Some cherry tomatoes, some strawberries, which are quite tasty actually. I'm getting excited about it again. But I won't be having it for dinner because I am going out to get some sushi. But yeah, I'm not hungry. Don't worry about it. 4 drones have gone down to the Oracle harassment. Ling run by attempts denied by herO's Warpins. And we do have ourselves a very typical ZVP. Which I mentioned that there's a couple of macro games between these two. It doesn't happen, I would say, that often that we get a very passive macro game where they both go up to 4 bases versus 5. And then, you know, we're talking about some real respectful moves into the late game technology and Most of the time, it's way more explosive. herO's trying to be a dick with Stalkers, Dark decides to just YOLO with Massling, Baneling, Ravager, and then something explosive happens. Base trades and abrupt endings, and it's just a bit of a roller coaster. You think you know what you're going to get, and then suddenly, boom, suddenly Dark grabs Tunneling Claws. Something he has done versus herO on this very map, actually. This time around, Dark is going to go into a Lair, Roach Warren, and then Evolution Chamber, so he's not going straight into what is very popular right now, which is straight into that +1 melee, initially discarding with Lings, and then eventually moving on to Ravagers. Nope, actually goes into the Roaches, but not a particular safe time either. You know, it's not like he's getting this and then making sure that he's safe against an Adept attack, well, because there is no Adept attack. Like, this is just macro Roaches. Just kind of... I'm going to say it's kind of boring, but it's also not out of character for Dark. He can do the Ling things, but him and Roaches are like this. They're tight, man. They're tight. Ooh, okay, adding in a sprinkling of Mutas. That's going to be a distraction. I doubt he's going to go all in on the Mutas. herO is set up on 3 bases. Blink and +1 almost done. Could start to get a little aggressive. Right? You don't have a Warp Prism, you don't have a Proxy, but Proxy is being set up, actually, on the left side. herO is going to try to be a little aggressive on top of Dark's 4th base. Oracle is going to help out with the defense of the offense, making sure the Stalkers don't get overwhelmed. And now Dark knows about it. These are slow warpings until that gateway is done. But now the attack is underway. herO actually putting substantial amounts of effort into this, right? Delaying his upgrades, delaying his additional gases, delaying his 4th base, and hoping this attack actually does catch Dark off guard. Dark at 68 drones, does have a handful of Lings, but no upgrades, remember, and only a couple of Ravagers to help out, so he is underprepared for this. Indeed. Drones going down to something on the right side as well. Oh, Adepts. Adepts used on the other side of the base. It's about to be 9 gateways with the Proxy finishing up here. Quick warp-ins as well, and herO grabs that 4th base. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Dark in a lot of trouble right now as he does try to bolster his Roach forces. They actually aren't particularly scary, I would argue. They're a lot more readable than the Lings trying to get surrounds. You just see a bunch of Roaches, you decide, can I take that, can I not take that? You skedaddle or you engage. When it comes to counting Lings and tracking Lings as well, like are they coming around and trying to get us around, that's a little scarier, I would say. Not that Roach Ravager can't overwhelm and eventually win. Of course they could. It just is not. It's something that the Protoss player, I think, finds it a bit easier to size up. Oracles went to the main base, having helped out enough on the offense. The 4th base got killed. That was kind of the goal. They went to the main to do some damage, but also get some scouting done. I don't believe they scouted the Spire right then and there, but it looks like herO might have picked up on the possibility of a Spire, just that lack of Roach Ravager presence. All the gas is taken, and then probably, yeah, just the amount of units that Dark did not have. Like, that was an alarming lack of defense from the Zerg player when nothing else had happened in the game. It's not like he lost a bunch of drones to Oracle harassment earlier on. So I think that's what herO is picking up on. It's like, this is way too easy on the ground. So he's going into double Stargate, I believe. Oh, he's actually just going right into the... Oh, okay, this is what he's been doing recently, so I'm actually not that surprised. But off of 3 bases, I guess I am a little surprised. He has been going rather quickly into capital ships in this matchup, but I still would have expected the 4th base to come down faster. I thought this might be a pretty strong response to potential Mutas. And it could have been at first, right? Phoenix produced kind of quickly. But no, that's a little more awkward than I was giving it credit for. He did not pick up on what Dark was slapping down. That said, 3 bases, going on to 4, losing 9 probes, really not the worst thing right there, and herO will eventually have a more reliable defense against Mutas. The carriers aren't particularly fast, but they're not going to die to Mutas anytime soon. They can park themselves over a base and say, like, yeah, we got this, it's fine. So Dark, obviously also seeing that, right? He saw the carriers forming in the Stargate, knows that this could be a longer game. So that means that he's got to play his cards right. He's got to get the economy up and running, but then also prepare for the eventual late-game Protoss, which is very difficult to do, and what was failing him in some of the previous best-of-5s that he has played versus herO. he had gotten himself into too tricky of a situation with the rest of the game. You know, roach all laning or far too many lings produced or whatever, and then he wouldn't really be able to take on the capital ships. There's also been a couple of games where not much has happened, and he was primed the best that you could be to deal with late game Protoss, and he still was a little bit worse than you would expect at it. So this game for Dark is one in which he was not fully, totally prepared to enter into late game. You know, he's not on 85 drones, 6 bases, banking up minerals, and preparing for double spire upgrades. That's not it. But he does still get the time to build a certain amount of anti-carrier force, which if herO had gone for maybe maxing out on the ground, perhaps he would have maxed out already, way faster, and continued to engage into Dark when Dark was kind of on the ropes. But herO really has been loving this carrier transition, happening pretty quickly. Anonymous, hey! Thank you very much for gifting 10 subs. Just dropping in and saying hello with some love. Anonymous style. Thank you very much. But yeah, just to elaborate on the carrier transition, I mean, to me, it's not the most exciting thing. So that's like, I'm kind of inherently biased against it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not as excited to see carriers in production tab as much as I am to see, you know, mass charge lots hitting the right side and stalkers hitting the left, and the eventual add-on of the Archons pushing for the last hurrah before the Broodlords come in or Lurkers come in or what have you, right? That's just more exciting to me. But I think there's a very logical reason as to why herO is experimenting with this faster transition over into carriers. Basically, whenever he opens up an opportunity for himself, he doesn't go, okay, time to push the opportunity with more aggression, more momentum, whatever it is. He just says, okay, now I have this open opportunity to get to carriers. I'm going to take it. And I think that is because there's been too many games in which he thinks he has the momentum, and then Lurkers pop out, and he's like, oh shit, my momentum's completely gone. Lurkers aren't really going to stop that momentum against someone who already has 5 or 6 carriers. Although 3 of them getting abducted and instantly dying is a terrible start. So I don't know. But yeah, herO getting ahead as far as technology, getting more ahead as he was already ahead. But this is some questionable engagements. Dark just got like 4 carriers, I would say, for free. So that starts off things right. And Dark is the one that is maxed out, 40 army supply above. But armies are disconnected. herO recalled on the left. This was the army that was supposed to deal with things that were recalled. So now it's going to head into the natural, actually. Dark looking to create some chaos. Goes after the shield body overcharge. Takes that down. I would say otherwise, not a very hefty Zerg army. Like, this will die fairly quickly. Maybe depower the 7X core. But it does open up the opportunity for these units to straight up kill a 5th base, as herO had nothing guarding a completed base. 400 minerals down the drain, something that herO is not exactly ready to just give up all willy-nilly. 25 more Hydras are on the way. We do have those Lurkers finally as well. Some better upgrades for the Hydras too. Finally getting a Carapace to help against the Interceptors in particular. But, oh no, this actually is a perfect timing for herO. He jumps forward realizing that the Lurkers are forming, takes them down, forces the cancel. And now the Vipers are involved once again. It's a little bit more hectic. Not a whole lot of splash, however, from the Protoss. Makes me a little concerned about this. Hydra's ripping and tearing through these Stalkers. The Immortal's not particularly helpful in this engagement. And a Lurker did finish and has been whacking away here on the Stalkers without the detection to stop it. And that did turn ugly fast for both players, I guess. Dark's swift plan kind of getting interrupted as herO surprisingly went on the map. I would say that is a surprise. I certainly didn't expect him to be on the map, and Dark didn't either. Dark was thinking, hell yeah, left, right, boom, bop, bop, and then going to run Lurkers, and then right up in the middle, going to the 4th base. And if herO hadn't just engaged right then and there, it would have been a well-paced Zerg game. But the pacing gets thrown off a little bit. And now it goes back to more of a ground-based army for herO, as he's added in Disruptors, as well as looking at Storm. Obviously, feedbacks for the Vipers has been necessary for the last couple of minutes. And, yeah, I gotta say, again, I kind of understand the jump towards carriers. You're given the opportunity to jump towards that later game. I could see why you would take it, but besides being inherently biased against it, I also just feel like I see this happen more often, which is that herO kind of, like, gonna say, I'm like half-asses the carriers. and thinks that just because the carriers come out fast, they might be surprising enough that the Zerg is caught off guard. But especially Dark has been on to this style of play probably for a couple of weeks at this point. So he's not just like maxing out on roaches and going, oh no, carriers. Ah. And the carriers do take such a long time to get up and running that Dark was able to, remember, replace a 4th base that he lost very easily, get up to a nice number of Hydras and Vipers, and take the engagement to herO a lot of the time. That's just something that I feel like would be a lot more difficult if herO had instead, again, tried to only do the ground army and not add on the carriers when he did. But anyways, more examples are needed. I personally don't think it's the best thing, but I can see the arguments for it. That aside, we are now at that very terrifying position for Protoss, who is mostly reliant on the ground, which is that the lurkers are out, the creep is on your doorstep, spellcasters are ready, and the Zerg is starting to bank as well. This is where the Protoss really starts to feel quite scared, starts to feel oppressed. This was not the best use of Roach Hydra, I would say. That was a lot that went down right there, but Dark does have the economy to replace it. Also choosing to replace a lot of the lost supply with lurkers, so there's even more on the front lines. Vipers, Infestors, and Queens, oh my. hero's lost 16 probes, actually, as these Hydras ended up just staying around longer than they should have. A couple of Tempests arrived, but this is a very incomplete late-game Protoss army, right? The High Templars really doing their best to stand their ground, and they do so against the Queen Hydra Roach. The Lurkers have yet to actually jump on the static defense, just dodging away from the Disruptors for now. Dark realizes that more capital ships could be on the way, so he's going to grab the Corruptors to make it really easy to take care of them, instead of trying to go after the Viper Abducts, as they were getting feedbacked. But it's actually not a whole lot into the air. Like I said, herO kind of almost dabbles in the air to maybe get this overreaction, and has actually tried to remax on the ground army more so. Unable to remax, however, as herO has been a little poor. He is back on to 5 bases mining, but if this army gets destroyed, he will not be able to replace it. Ditto for Dark, as he comes in with the Corruptors first. They are taking maybe unideal trades. Lots of Stalkers getting involved in the air fights, but it looks like they will take out the Tempests. Lurkers coming in will eventually get on top of the Protoss army. It's just a matter of time. Does herO take enough damage along, I guess, with his retreats to warrant the attack? He didn't kill that base. He didn't kill that many drones. He did retreat somewhat successfully, though. And it looks like it's not so much about the economy, it's about the amount of army that he killed. Dark did lose a lot of army trying to chase after that. Most of his Corruptors, a lot of his Lurkers. He just didn't really get that collapse that he was looking for. Rather, it was a trickle in that was less than ideal. The Corruptor is less than ideal, the Lurker is less than ideal, the Hydra is less than ideal, and Dark is the one that's now down 30 supply, kind of desperately going after a counterattack, but a quick recall from herO solves that crisis. And herO is, as I said, on 5 bases, just now getting to mining on it, I suppose. Has to probably transfer workers. There we go. But now has a decent lead. Almost 30 army supply advantage for the Protoss. Dark only on 8 Lurkers, 0 Spellcasters. A far cry from where he was just 2 minutes ago in this exact location. It was Dark, the one that was pressuring, and that just turned upside down as herO went after the 5th base. I think it was actually the 3rd. But the point is, he went after a base. And this game is going to continue on for a while longer as Dark refuses to give up, hoping that maybe eventually he can remax, trying to get some distraction in, trying to get some harassment in. Lots of probes will die as this Lurker is looking for the pull away. Revelation has to be used 1 at a time. That is very annoying. He must have an observer. Yeah, just needs to wait for it. So probes do die. 12 of them. Not the biggest of deals for herO, who does now have almost 5 bases up and running. And Dark is going to try and once again attack where herO is not, hoping that there is a huge opening to take advantage of. So far, not the biggest opportunities. Good spread on the Lurkers. 2 Disruptors kill 1 Lurker. All the Lurkers are spread out. Not going to happen particularly quickly. Simulators will go down. More probes will go down. But again, probe losses, not the worst thing for herO to deal with. Only minerals being used to replace those probes, not something that herO's going to cry about. If he's also losing his army, then he might be a little more concerned, but he's actually taking, I think, pretty good stands. Well, maybe not this one. 5 Archons kind of left by their lonesome. Very ineffective against the composition that they're up against. That was not ideal. 5 Archons. 4 Archons going down without much in revenge and trade. That's definitely not good. And now the supplies once again favor Dark. He still is counting pennies. The Zerg economy is not where it would want to be. Really 2-ish bases mining. But now herO is also down to just 2-ish bases mining, if that actually, not at all. Main, natural, and third base of the Protoss completely mined out. Fourth base almost mined out. That fifth was exceptionally important. Not only did it die, it lost 5 Archons trying to defend the damn thing. herO now back to an almost all-in state. Does he have the army to actually win this game? Dark is on 3 Lurkers, 1 Infestor, and 36 Hydras, so very, very Hydra-based. Those Storms and Disruptors going to be coming in clutch. Many of the Hydras also reinforcing into the army very awkwardly, but the recall is also potentially awkward. Microbial Shroud being used in this game, finally, is helping those +2 Carapace Hydras take on the +2 Carriers. Is going to be forced to evacuate with more of the Protoss army coming in here. Oracle dies. Disruptor here, not going to be sniped in time, but does get sniped, and actually that is going to be it. herO ends up surviving long enough. His army comes out ahead as Dark threw everything to the other side of the map in an attempt to buy time or even win the game, and instead he just lost pieces of his army over and over again. Very back and forth. Pretty hard one to call, but herO does take game number 1. In the bottom left, now up 1 after a very back-and-forth PvZ, we do have herO. And in the top right, we have Dark. We're on altitude for game 2. So Dark, I actually would say, almost recovered. But that game did start with him losing his 4th base, no problem. Which is an awkward start for anyone. Because he did also kind of try to defend it, so it was really one of the worst situations. And then his Muta Gambit didn't really pay off. I mean, you could put everything together, and Dark wasn't exactly even in that game. But neither was he so far behind. I'd say he was a little bit, because, like, again, I can't help but kind of criticize it. You know, herO going into those capital ships on 3 bases as fast as he did really felt like the other opportunity that existed there for the Protoss was to get to a faster 4th base. Like a 4th base as soon as you realize that the 4th of the Zerg wasn't going to be properly defended. Like, I feel like he could have gotten a way faster 4th base. And then you could have continued snowballing with Stalkers and charge up run buys, upgrades, building your Archon count. I think that's the 2 paths that we generally see after such an attack. The Stalker, ground-based, expansion-based type of process, PvZ, and then what I feel like is the herO process, because he seems to be doing it frequently and mostly by himself, which is going into those fast capital ships. And I get it. I try to explain it. I'm sure there's other things I'm missing from it that someone else could educate me on. But I just am not a big fan of that delay in momentum. In that last game, Dark was a little bit behind. He had to recover. But because there was a couple of capital ships being the real priority of herO, he was able to get his 4th base back up to 75 drones. Not ideal, but workable. And then into Hydras, plentiful enough to tackle the ground and air army, since it was a bit of a half-and-half situation, and it just builds very slowly. You know, Dark was allowed that time to start making moves. Now, he ultimately lost the game, but I just kind of hope that herO doesn't do it. But as it is altitude, I could see it absolutely happening again. I could see the exact same thing happening again, actually. herO going for the Stalker attack with the proxy gateway and then going into the double Stargates. I could only assume, however, that Dark would have a better defense against the first Stalker attack. If that's what's going to happen here. Couple of things get into the main base and actually are very close to killing a probe. I can't get any closer. Oh, let me go over the left. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, okay. Doesn't actually get it, though. And 3 base versus 2 base. herO going up to at least double, probably triple Oracle, I would assume. And then maybe we pay attention to the gas geyser to see exactly what's going to go down here. Or perhaps the amount of adepts that are being built up, kind of something you can lose track of easily, because it's just one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And one at a time consistently can sometimes add up to, what, 6? 6 with the Oracle can be a bit tricky. We have seen some Protoss players do this. I feel like Showtime has been actually doing a decent amount of like adept pressure with the Oracles, where the adepts kind of just hover. I'm not touching you. This doesn't seem to be it. Just enough adepts to properly protect the 3rd base. And the Oracle barely living. Very, very injured. 2nd Oracle's out. 3rd Oracle is on the way. Twilight Council going to be coming down as soon as we have enough gas. And the 3rd Nexus does look to be properly protected. Dark is the type of Zerg player to throw around a handful more Zerglings than you would expect. But this case, not so much. He is getting a faster evolution chamber than last game, though, so I am feeling the +1 melee. Something that would have also contributed to the defense of the Blink Stalker attack, as he would have had +1 finishing and more lings off the bat as well, I believe, as opposed to waiting for the Roachborn to finish. That is a very unfortunate supply block. Totally unforced, by the way. Dark's mechanics, sometimes, like, you know, I don't know, not the absolute best, but he's on top of it. And there we have herO almost done with the Twilight Council. What's it going to be? Immediately into that blink. He could be doing, as I said, something similar to last game. It's not uncommon for Protoss to position themselves around the Xel'Naga and start a little pressure, a little pokey poke. Usually I would say over on the left side, yeah, because that's usually where the Zerg takes the 4th base. So, you know, we could also sometimes have a triangle set up that leads into pressure on the 4th base, that leads into this being the Protoss' 4th base. herO actually expanding away, and he changed his mind. That is not blink, that is charge. Okay. So, I mean, I feel like with blink, driving up the middle and doing that pressure like I was talking about is just a very acceptable thing to do. It's not even necessarily something that has to be dedicated to, like it was last game. But then going into charge Archon, a little bit of a, how to say, like it's a bit of a delayed engagement, but one that has a little bit more oomph to the time that it first engages. Stalkers trickle in, get more concerning as time goes on. Boom, suddenly charge out Archon. That just can actually jump on top of an unprepared Zerg player. Sometimes even win, thinking back to those classic DT drops into Archon, into fast charge out follow-up, which no one does anymore. But I remember. The Zergs got that +1 melee done. Baneliness is now on the way alongside a Roachborn, because we do have to talk about the problems of going for +1 melee pure Ling against someone going charge Archon. I don't have to talk for very long. I think you guys noticed this doesn't sound very good. Which is probably what herO was thinking when he changed from Blink to +1 to Charge, because he saw the Evolution Chamber with his Oracles, and how fast it was really does scream +1 melee. So, I'm going to go ahead and guess that's why he changed it up. Not that you have to change it up, just it is an option. Zealots with their own +1. Definitely want those Archons helping, however. War Prism is on the way. herO could be going for some action soon. Loses an Oracle in the main base. A lot more Roaches are on the way, though, and certainly Dark now has a more proper composition against Charged Archon. herO now adding on a Robotics Bay, be adding on Colossus, getting up to 4 bases, setting up for the macro game on Altitude. And Dark setting up for, yes, macro, but probably going to be the first to engage Banelings, Ravagers, Roaches. All collapsing in on herO's side of the map. As I do not see an Infestation Pit. I think that is more and more likely. Oracle of herO. There are two. Where's the other one? One's at home, one's scouting. War Prism went for some harassment too, which is also a bit of scouting. So far, seeing no technology aside from the lair. Could give herO the information he needs, so I'll play basically defensive, right? Prepare for the huge Zerg swell as they try to kill you, either immediately, first push win, or within basically the next 3 pushes, right? The first one doesn't quite work out, second one still has some potential, third one could be the last hurrah from the Zerg if they haven't broken the Protoss, because they will run out of steam eventually. herO already seems pretty properly set up to me. I mean, static defense, stasis wards, charge that Archon. Just gotta make sure the Zealots don't suicide in casually. More static defense. Disruptors waiting for the chance to pop some of these Baneling balls. And herO is going to go ahead and take this chance playing on the defense as he is, but comfortably on the defense. 4 bases properly set up defensively. He's going to go ahead and go to the Stargates. Now, I actually think this is totally fine. I'll get into that in a second, why it's different from the previous game that we just witnessed. That this attack from Dark just already looks like a complete failure to me. Just, it might hit the probes, or it might not. And there are more Banelings. There's always more Banelings, right? But it just does not look like it's going to work out. herO, though, is starting to run low on some of the charge lots. Disruptor is getting some big shots, and I guess most importantly, the static defense is now completely gone. With no shield battery to back up these Archons, they are starting to get popped. Imagine a shield battery protecting these bad boys. This would have been a very easy hold, but Dark prioritizing killing those off first and foremost is actually paying off right now. It's just the remnants of the initial Zerg army is enough to start tackling the Nexus, tackling the probes, and herO, initially cool as a cucumber, looked very much on point, prepared for the inevitable attack, just did not have enough to keep on going. Loses the Nexus, all of his probes that were saturating that base, and now is in a ton of trouble. A very unsuccessful transition over into carriers at this point as well. It was fine. It made a lot of sense. Playing purely on the defense, not finding a room to go across the map anytime soon, just because the Zerg was going to be able to remax at least once or twice more. Yeah, why not just go ahead and start spending your time and minerals and resources into adding on the carriers? And then when you do eventually figure the Zerg is out of steam, you can run across the map with however many Archons you saved, plus like 6 carriers. Like that would have made a lot of sense, but now it's a very awkward transition, only depending on the carriers really to sustain herO's defense. I guess temporarily it will work out, as there's no anti-air, but Dark could easily add on Hydras or Aspire. Disruptor's looking for the juicy shots. Get it, get it. Oh, decent last second split. But like I said, the carriers will be an okay defense. Dark actually had no idea. He clearly had no idea that there was a Stargate transition on the way. Complete surprise right there. The Spire only just now starting means that herO might have a moment. He just defended a pure Roach force against a Dark that was pretty clearly surprised. He is not completely 100% sure, however, that there's no Spire in play. Because what if Dark just went for a just-in-case Spire and is now spamming out Corruptors? Unfortunately, herO just doesn't know. So while herO technically has an opportunity to go across the map right now with his carriers and kill the queens, maybe kill a bunch of drones, it's just such a dangerous thing to actually assume you can do. And you can see herO kind of hovering. He's like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I, should I, should I? And the fact is, he hasn't seen the army in a little while. Well, I guess he revelated this army, actually. So he has seen some of the army, but again, he doesn't know if there's Corruptors about to pop or not. He just simply does not know. It's very unfortunate. I think he would have been able to get some revenge with those carriers. Now it's just waiting for Dark to build up the Corruptor count. The carriers do have +1, and there's about to be 6 of them. Not a bad number at all. But Dark, having found a comfortable amount of ground army, considering that he won the previous fight, he doesn't need a whole lot on the ground, has the supply and the consistent income to get to 16 Corruptors. It'd be a very different story if he was panicking and building an unnecessary amount of Ravagers and realizing he's actually supply capped and going, oh shit, I only made 6 Corruptors, oh god. No, he's actually got plenty. And it also means that he'll be able to actually kind of take an engagement rather than receive one. Because again, if he's going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, don't have enough corruptors, don't have enough corruptors, and he's defending his 5th while he trickles out those units, it's dangerous. But Dark is actually ready to engage, which means focus firing, which means time to retreat and rebuild, as seen here. And Dark can size up exactly what he needs from his composition. It is a pretty terrifying Protoss army at the end of the day. More of those Archons get added in. Disruptors live from the earlier battles, and together, the army supply closing in on Darks. The army quality quite good. Disruptors are being targeted as they're left on the front lines, however, so they are not impacting the battle. The Archons will help soak up a lot of the Banelings, but really they want to be targeting some of those Corruptors, I would assume. The Corruptors are targeting the carriers one by one. Doesn't matter if they don't have upgrades, they've got the numbers. And the Archons all went pop, 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 pop. And now it is just the carriers, as the Corruptors maybe won't win this battle, but of course more Corruptors could be on the way. Ground Army still posing a problem as well, and Dark will in fact take game number 2. I'm just really surprised that he ended up killing that 4th base almost easily. I really thought that herO looked about as well prepared as a Protoss could, and again, he and his actions looked like he was playing it really cool-like, and then just suddenly, no shield battery, no Archons. That would have really been the key difference. 1 shield battery left alive. The Dark now ties up the series. And now the series is tied up. Whoop. I pressed a button I shouldn't have. I changed the audio. It's going to be so screwy now. Oh, God. In the top left, it is herO. In the bottom right, it is Dark. Please let me know if the game sounds are too low or too high, because I accidentally pressed a button. They don't have a way to lock the sound bars, which I'm just realizing now would be a good addition to OBS. So when you Alt-Tab, you don't accidentally hit the slider. I should suggest that. But anyways, hopefully it's good enough. So yeah, game 3, tied up series now. On to Dragon Scales, as herO did send out a probe. Lickety split to try and ensure a block on the hatchery. Dark, tired of having his hatchery blocked, went for a 15 hatch. So very, very quick. I mean, you got to be quicker than the probe. And the good news is, I don't think there's anything a Protoss can do to stop a 15 hatch, right? There's like literally no way. Because to block a 16 hatch, you already have to send your first probe out immediately. So, yeah, pretty sure. It's obviously a hit to the Zerg's economy, however, so in some ways herO might still be okay with it. But in terms of the ripple effects that blocking the hatchery does, that doesn't exist anymore, right? So you don't get the drones having to rally to the 3rd base, taking a long time, lost mining time. You don't have the creep gap that can be abused by adepts and oracles later on, where the queens can't quite get to their location fast enough. And you don't have the forward, perhaps slightly more vulnerable base to, again, something like an adept attack. So yeah, there's definitely pros and cons for both races to try and beat each other out when it comes to that natural. So that's just a overly detailed explanation about something that might not really be all that important as the game goes on. herO actually hasn't been doing any adept attacks, not even the type that I was talking about where you just get like 6 adepts just because you continuously build and you wave your hands around on the outside of creep. He's not even been doing that. He's really just been getting the Oracle damage, and then the Adepts have been used to safeguard the 3rd base. Considering that Dark is absolutely a Zerg player who will add on those 20 to 30 lings just to consistently mess up the 3rd base, making sure that's defended is not a bad call. There might be other Zergs who are less prone to doing that you'd be like, you're not going to stop my 3rd Nexus. Dark hasn't really been adding that many lings, though. But, yeah. See if herO changes it up. He has actually already changed it up? No. Just kidding. Strike out on the way. 2nd Adept on the way. Overlord's going to see whether or not that's chrono boosted. It's really the only thing you'd be checking at this point in time. It's not. Chrono boost goes into the Oracle. And let's see if Dark goes for that faster +1 melee again, or plays the Roach style, which he tried doing in the first game, and that really did hit him hard when we accounted for what herO's build was too, right? Those Roaches came out too late to support. I was going to say you're awesome. Thank you, young Bogler. It's very appreciated. Some nice words. Oh, 2 Adepts are going to be a little more adventurous this time around. Unfortunately, the second Adept did not get locked into the mineral line like herO was hoping, but fortunately, that Oracle just got a little bit of a freebie entrance. It did take some hull damage as the Queens were there, but the Spore Crawler wasn't quite done. So 6 drones in total go down. The sacrifice of the 2 Adepts could have been just a little bit better if those 2 Adepts were actually butted up against each other, but I'm talking a little bit better, like maybe 7 drones instead of 6. As it is, I'd say that's actually pretty decent, especially if the third base does not take any damage in return, such as a cancel. I mean, imagine a cancel going on right now. That'd be absolutely terrible. Really should not happen. It will not. My eyes do see a Baneling nest and no evolution chamber and many lings on the way. Dark has not actually gunned towards the third base in this series yet. Saw a mosquito. But I think this time around he is going to try. 6 more drones go down, some Oracle pressure, but Dark is absolutely looking to kill this third base. Queens arrive on the other side of the map all of a sudden. They can't transfuse, but they'll help against the Oracles. And herO actually just evacuates. He should be canceling. Oh, Jesus. As soon as he saw the Queens, right? He's like, oh, okay, you're committing. So he does get the opportunity to cancel a third base. He's trying to fix his inevitable supply block because of that. But now this turn's kind of weird, because Dark is like, yeah, I got what I wanted, but is that really enough? I don't think so. It's actually, I haven't flipped the names. I'm crazy. What happened to me? But seriously, I don't think it's enough. Dark is still way farther down in drones. Had he not lost 12, that might have been totally worth it. But he lost 12, and he produced a lot of lings that did not create as much chaos as he was hoping. herO being able to evacuate his third and cancel it is really a big difference. However, lings plus banelings, herO was not expecting this. He moves out without the appropriate number of units and will lose a decent number of them. Won't let the lings into the natural, which is the good news, but that's still a little scary. Oof, we're good, we're good. And, again, I will reemphasize that Dark did not do enough damage right there. Now, if he still holds on to a 3-base versus 2-base scenario for like a minute longer, he cancels this base as well, I guess, then I would actually start to really feel good about Dark in his position. But assuming that this Nexus is going to complete, no cancel, I think herO will be quite comfortable with this situation. At the very least, he still has his 3 Oracles, right? So that's going to help out in the future and the present. He does have Blink and +1 on the way. He didn't mess up his macro so bad that he forgot to start that. And his third base being slower than usual is okay, because Dark's economy is also slower than usual. As soon as he started raising up all the positives about herO, he goes ahead and just loses 2 Oracles in the front line, so whoops! My bad. Now only down to the 1 Oracle that's helping to safeguard his third base. It's better than nothing. But those 2 Oracles, I think, were absolutely supposed to pair up with the Stalkers to ensure a safe retreat. Not just a safe retreat, but also perhaps clean up some of this creep spread. Hatchery under fire. Stasis trap won't be ready. And actually won't be target fired quickly enough anyways. But the hatchery is cancelled. I believe, not killed. Oh, that was a kill. I could have sworn it was going to be cancelled. I thought that was for sure something Dark was on top of. He was not. Cancelled hatchery, maybe not the biggest of deals. Killed hatchery, 350 minerals down the drain with the drone. herO's going to be pretty happy with that, especially because the Stalkers were managed to evacuate. I actually love that he's going into more Oracles. These are the only things that are going to protect his Stalkers as far as a safe retreat goes, because those +1 melee lings are looking for surrounds. And if the Oracles are safeguarding the Stalkers, then at least there will be a trade. And there we go, case in point, Stalkers trying to get surrounded here. The Pulsar Beam from the Oracle helping out the littlest, tiniest bit. This is where 3 Oracles be so much better. It looks like with that blink off cooldown, I was going to say most of them will escape, but actually 3 Stalkers still went down even after the blink. Dark Shrine is on the way, something I'm not sure Dark is really thinking of. He does have Spore Crawlers from earlier on, but I'm not seeing one, for instance, at his 4th or his would-be 5th. Right now, I'm just concerned about Dark's army in general. +1 melee Lings might have a kick if they get a surround, but the issue with that is actually having enough Lings to get said surround. Dark is having trouble with the larva and the amount of minerals. He now has 5 bases, actually 6 hatcheries almost up and running, but his queen's been pulled to the front lines repeatedly. So I imagine many injects have been missed. 600 minerals in the bank. These Lings, still not enough to actually take down the army. Going through this choke as well with the stasis traps, proven to be very scary, near impossible. Another choke is looking to be used. Revelation to clear up the creep spread. Even an aggressive blink forward, which, I don't know, seems a little bold. Didn't actually know where the army was. But Dark is in a lot of trouble. He is now even supply blocked. Finally, he was able to spend his money, but now he's supply blocked. He's about to have +1/+1 at least, but that +2 melee is very, very far off. And herO is continuing to add important units to his arsenal. Archons in particular. From the DTs. Because the DTs were used first and foremost for that, but I'd still say they are used offensively as well, quite well. I think they'd still be very good. And this is what the Warp Prism could be warping in. Come on. Just a couple of DTs. You know you want it. You know you want it. Nah, actually be a terrible warp in. Dark's clearly on top of things. Dark now on 5 bases, 70 drones. herO almost on 4 at almost 70 probes, actually. There you go. This is yet another Oracle. Don't think you want to sack the Oracle. Yeah. 7 drones. Okay. And now Dark has been able to add on Ultralisk Cavern. I actually thought he was going to die. Not going to lie. I thought this was a very brutal location for herO to be pushing into, but then herO backed away. A little wary of the potential of a Ling Swell overwhelming him, which I think is good to respect. But now, Dark might actually get to his +2 melee, Adrenal Glands, and Ultras. Might. It looks like herO's follow-up push is still going to be fast enough to take advantage of the lead herO has had. Ling run-by is going to try and cause some problems. Nice last-second response to at least block out the main base. Shield by to Overcharge going to be targeted by those +2 melee Lings, and eventually the Lings will get to the main base. It seems inevitable, but Dark will not be able to hold back at home. Single Archon kind of just lost, but yeah, the rest of the army should be able to retreat. Lings were taken care of before entering to the main base, so minimal probe damage done. An attack now on the 4th base. Looks like Dark is gunning for probe damage, at least taking out the static defense, but oh my god, these aren't Baneling speeds. They're slow Banelings. No Baneling speed in play. The blink forward, however, meant the Stalkers took about the most maximum damage they could. But yeah, this is just a more awkward composition for Dark. He's not set up for a late-game Zerg versus Protoss. Not at all. His Lings might be feisty, but slow Banelings, not really contributing. It really is just Lings against, well, not that many Archons, actually. Actually, Lings are pretty good, guys. The Immortals are almost useless in these types of battles. The Stalker is not as good as they would hope, and the Archons really are the backbone. So you can see that these very spicy Lings did a hell of a job, but just not numerous enough. GG. herO will take game number 3. In the top right of game 4, Ancient Cistern, it is herO. In the bottom left, we have Dark on his last life. Mass Ling strategy not able to work out in the last game. Really at any point. It did feel like Dark just kind of fell behind after his unsuccessful Ling Baneling bust. His herO's response was very wise. He really did just say, yeah, you know what? You're all in. Let me go ahead and cancel this. If he had finished it and it was killed, I do think that's a very different start for Dark. But a quick and simple cancel it's just cleaner. You know, it's literally, you save money, obviously. 300 minerals you save. But it's also just cleaner. And herO did make a mistake moving out a bit too soon, true, but yeah, the problem was it wasn't just the easy-peasy cancel. It was also that 12 drones had died. So Dark was farther behind than he should have been. And then he all-in'd, which put him even farther behind because it wasn't particularly effective. The real reason Europe doesn't have screens on their windows is because people like to complain. And if you fix things, how can you still complain? An argument that I do not have an answer for. It's true, people do like to complain. If Europe really was, like every country in Europe really was as amazing as some people think, then we just wouldn't be able to live with ourselves. As an American, it really helps me feel better about my country when I can complain that you guys don't have screens. You know? If I go to the hospital, I'll get a broken arm fixed for like $5. And that makes me feel bad. But then I'll just be like, aha! There aren't any screens. Get fucked, Europe. Anyways. Target on the way once again. herO is not shy about doing the same build over and over again. Of course, he did change things up as far as charge and blink, which is the more important difference. The truth is the Stargate opener is just too solid not to be the typical opener. Dark was actually blocked on his natural. He did not try and go for a 15 hatch, or at least I assume he didn't. As I said, I don't think you can actually block it as a Protoss player. But, yeah, whatever that particular desire, I guess why it was a desire in the last game compared to this game, I couldn't exactly tell you, but this game apparently Dark was cooler with it. I guess it did end up hurting him economically, like I was talking about, but then there's the trade-off with like the drone transfer, and I don't actually know which one's better economically, but yeah. One drone goes down, second drone will live. The Adept chooses life. It will evacuate. No more Adepts on the way. The Overlord can see that. Means that it's very unlikely further Adept pressure will come, as herO was, should be looking towards his third base. Everybody knows the perfect country is Japan. Well, there really is no perfect country. There absolutely isn't. As far as for visitors, though, I do think Japan is pretty high up there. Living is a very different story, but for visiting, Japan is pretty hard to beat, actually. I would say, people know that I prefer Korea, but either way. Korea and Japan gets ungodly hot, though. Hot and humid. So that's one thing Europe has. But thank goodness they're not stubborn. As soon as AC was invented, East Asia was right on that. Oracle harassment not doing a whole lot so far. Actually feel like it might have been better to go for the pulsar beam on these right side drones, but decides to go for double stasis trap. Kind of annoying. Lots of lost mining time. I think that's why he did it. He realized the queens couldn't get around fast enough, so he was like, oh, this is plenty of lost mining time. Yeah, okay. Twilight Council a little bit late. I assume that was just a minor error. Yep, going into blink, nothing surprising. Blink and +1. Stasis trap denied that time around. Focus fire is good. And it looks like 3 oracles are still alive, although many of them getting injured. Third base is complete now for herO. Dark choosing to go for, I guess, his most macro game yet. No, this is similar to the first game, actually. So, he hasn't lost too many drones. He has mainly focused on droning, and he has been waiting to actually build up an army, because he's waiting for more of the mid-game. Didn't have to build a lot of lings, not trying to get their upgrade lickety-split. Just going into a lair and a roach warren at this point. Has to cancel that stasis trap as the spore was in range. Oopsie-doopsie. This oracle, so close to death. So damn close. Actually gets the stasis trap off. And a couple more drones go down as herO just relentless with this oracle aggression. He's only technically lost the stasis trap, and that's not a unit, but okay. So an excellent game so far from herO. He's playing with fire, and the fire has burned him in the past in a couple of the previous games, but this time around he is totally in control. Well, Johnny Yuppie, that's why I said for visiting, not living. Yeah, it's very different. Roaches are on the way, and just roaches. No evolution chamber whatsoever. Lair is done, so I expect roach speed to at least start up, but it looks like Dark, amidst all the direct damage taken from the oracles, whoops! That was a mistake. Has maybe messed up his build order a little bit. I feel like the evolution chamber is a little bit late here, especially if we are directly comparing it to the first game of the series. So those roaches will be unupgraded for some time, as herO is already on his +1 attack. Could be working up to +2 actually right now. Right now. Oh, he's not focusing on it because he's going for the proxy gateway again. So this is very much like the first game. This actually is so coincidentally like the first game because both of them ended up playing very similar builds. And the damage was once again done to Dark. Via the oracles. One died, however, so herO is eager to replace it. Now he's back up to 3, just needs to get on the front line. Its main job to help out on the offense, defending the attack, if you will. Dark, this time around, with a more appropriate army size to defend the 4th base. Remember, in the first game, it was easy peasy lemon squeezy. Dark was way too late to building up an army. Now herO actually has to work for a potential kill on the space. I actually don't think he's going to get it. I do not believe in his ability to overwhelm the Roach Ravager with this particular army, but herO is not all-inning. He does have a 4th base on the way, which I much prefer. The first game was his quick transfer over into Stargates. I like this so much more. Charge on the way, +2 on the way. Dark does not have +1 missile on the way, actually. He goes into melee. So it's going to take a very long time for it to actually kick in. Spire is also on the way, but I don't know if Dark will ever feel comfortable getting into a Spire. Well, I mean, eventually he will, but not anytime soon. You know, building up 600 when you're under pressure is a dangerous maneuver. More oracles are being built, actually. herO thinks he has an opportunity to overwhelm with oracles, something that he will absolutely try to take advantage of. Spire's almost done, and we at least could build 6 mutas. Might be worth it. Well, he starts up the flyer attack. He still is under pressure, and the amount of stalkers on his front door is now very scary. +2, about 30 seconds away from finishing. Charge now added in. Oracle still looking for damage elsewhere. I've actually been rather unsuccessful, to be honest, but I'm more concerned about that charge. Charge lots could enter into the left side and cause some more problems for Dark, who really hasn't broken out of this contain. Now looking to do so as the upgrades are kicking in momentarily. The oracles are out of the way, so the Lings know they have a bit more freedom when it comes to tackling the stalkers, but that was a little awkwardly timed on the upgrades. +1 melee done, but now also +2 attack done for the stalkers. 13 mutas are actually being built. That is a lot of cash that Dark was saving up for the mutas, not involved in the main fights, but he has held on long enough to successfully push back the stalkers and grab now 17 mutas. That is a lot of mutas. 5 oracles, not going to help very much against them. More and more mutas are on the way as Dark thinks that there's an opportunity to go mass muta in this game. Now, mass muta will cause a lot of problems when it comes to base trades and creating weird games. But in terms of fighting straight on against stalkers of +2, that's not what they're really for. Stasis traps aplenty, looking to help out on the ground. herO actually, I think, very much sizing up the Roach Ravager fight and saying, you know what, I can do that. I can actually win this one. He even blinks forward aggressively. A little sketch, but works out. Zealots are aiding that natural base, and the mutas have been revealed. herO could be building stuff back at home or just continuing to pressure. If he continues to pressure, the mutas kind of have to stay at home to help defend. But there is always that chance they'll go for the Hail Mary dive across the map, which I think Dark is more so setting up to do. So static defense and Archons would be extremely helpful. Static defense will only buy time. Archons will actually help stop the mutas and sentence. Zealot's not quite able to get that evolution chamber. herO's on 5 bases. If the mutas do go across the map for potential base race, it's going to take a long time to actually do anything. herO now realizes the mutas are not hitting his bases, and the Roach Ravager is coming after him awfully feisty, so he realizes everything will collapse together to try and tackle the number of stalkers that he has with that many mutas adding in the glaive worm damage. It's actually kind of scary. herO's supply dropping down heavily during that retreat. 25 mutas adding in all the bounce damage with their +1 flyer. They have to be supported, but they actually are kind of okay in those types of fights. It's when the Archons come out that the mutas really cannot do a whole lot. And the direct fights when the Stalkers aren't, I guess, like being surrounded is also less ideal for the Mutas. You know, the Stalkers are out in the open, being surrounded by +2 melee Lings, then they have to be scared. But defensively, static defense as well, helping. We know Mutas aren't really supposed to be a direct fighting unit. They're harassment units. If they're a direct fighting unit, we actually sometimes see a preference towards armor. It's a little change-up that can happen. Not recently, but has happened in previous StarCraft 2 games. But yeah, we just see him going all in on the attack, and now all in on the base trade as he loses all of his Ravagers. Dark now is going for the Muta Ling base trade Hail Mary play, which is almost always how these games end if it is only pure Stalker defending. If there's Phoenix, it's a lot more difficult to do this. But when it's only Stalkers, this is absolutely the play to make if you have no other plays to make. If Dark is still in trouble, right? And Dark is still in trouble. He is getting into a lot of different bases, but not dealing particularly fast damage. I mean, it's taken a while to actually kill all these probes, and he does not know about the top left base. He does not. Oh, well, he's a cannon, actually. But herO also has gotten into every nook and cranny. He's going after the drones, going after the hatcheries, going after reinforcements as well. Very expensive reinforcements. 100, 100 on each Muta that just popped out and got killed right there. And Dark does still have money in his pocket, but doesn't have the supply. I think he must have lost his Spire by now, right? Must have. And the Mutas did find that secret base. So herO down to 9 workers, plenty of Nexus. Dark down to 38 drones, but only 2 bases, one of them only recently being built, so basically only 1 base. Not a whole lot of mining to be done. herO is about to lose out on all of his probes if he's not careful, if he's not hiding them somewhere. They're being chased down by the Mutas, but he still has plenty of Nexus alive and kicking. This could turn into an actual base race. Who gets the last building killed? Dark has 377 minerals in his pocket. He's building 2 hatcheries. He could build half a dozen extractors, right? Actually, tons of extractors, if that is the main concern. But he's actually going to try and take the fight. 34 Mutas with their +2. No, the +2 was denied. Ah, with their +1 going up against what is still 3-1 Stalkers. I don't think that +2 flyer attack would have made the biggest of differences. Dark needed support with these Mutas, and he did not have it. GG. herO will win the best of 5 series, 3-1. GG's.